talk to you guys today about the 7 true use cases of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. So basically, I'm going to give you guys a brain dump of everything I've learned from the past 4 years from watching our users. I'm the CEO of the company, but I do customer support nearly every day. And I think that's an absolute requirement because the truth is, us here in crypto, we're still kind of in the pets.com phase, where we have too much navel-gazing and vaporous development happening, right? Nothing attached to the true use cases of the people that use it, to day-to-day differences in people's lives. All right, I think we're close. All right, I'm very proud of this keynote. So I have to give a special thanks to the people of Africa who have been the most ingenious and resourceful of our users. And they will always find a way around whatever blockages are in their path, right? And it's very impressive because that really is what cryptocurrency is about. And I'm going to paint you guys a greater framework. So Bitcoin is just one building block of a greater revolution. And this is the peer-to-peer financial revolution. What we're all doing here is we're building this kind of mycelial network of finance, where the people can get around any blockage, any boundary, any limit, and any border. So the true use cases of Bitcoin. Let's talk about how we began this journey, right? What the first true use case of cryptocurrency of Bitcoin has been gray markets, right? Just like the internet. It all started the gray markets always start off really black, think Silk Road, and they get grayer and grayer until they get white. So where are we now with this, right? We've got adult services, we've got sports betting, gaming, etc. Even services in the United States like vaporizers. Shops online that sell vaporizers cannot get a Visa and MasterCard merchant account. Why? Because it's not federally legal in every state, so Visa and MasterCard won't touch them. Thus, they have to turn to Bitcoin. That is considered gray market. So gray market is not a dirty word. It just means they just can't go completely legit with the man, even though they're not doing anything wrong, really, right? And here comes cryptocurrency. Here comes Bitcoin to the rescue. So this is how we got our start as well. You know, I was sitting in a WeWork in New York, with my co-founder. We were actually currently homeless at the time, crashing into WeWork and various couches around the city. And I got this call from this hysterical woman, and she was in such pain, or I could hear her children screaming in the background. She was screaming at me, I need this, I'm down to my last $13 and I need this Bitcoin. Bitcoin. She didn't even know how to pronounce Bitcoin. She had no idea what it was. She wasn't technical. She barely had a smartphone. And I had to actually teach her how to get her first Bitcoin without a bank account. You can imagine the frustration 4 years ago, someone trying to get their first Bitcoin without a bank account. There's 40 million unbanked peoples in the United States. And we got our start by actually listening to them and making the process simpler for them. You don't know how nightmarish it is to like get your first Bitcoin or send your first Bitcoin until you've tried to copy and paste a long Bitcoin address on a Android phone. It's something. But this is actually what made our company. All right, so the next big use case is speculation, right? And this is where about 90% of the volume in cryptocurrency is coming from right now. Exchanges. And when you think about exchanges, yes, there's some great exchanges out there like Binance, etc. But what you see in exchange structure is a lot of manipulation. You know, there's various vectors for attack like spoofing, layering, stale order sniping, front running, wash trading, etc., and the high frequency bots. In fact, if you think about the entire paradigm, it is absolutely toxic, right? So when here in Africa, so in the West, okay, in the West it's all about, when you think Bitcoin, you think about gray markets, Silk Road, and you think about, you know, day trading, Lambo moonshot parties and all of that, right? That's the only image we get of Bitcoin in the West. Here in Africa, what I've noticed is the image is, when you mention Bitcoin, what immediately comes to mind, people's MTM scams, right? People losing their life savings on that. Mining scams, you know, giving $600 a month to some guy in Finland to rent out his mining hardware, which is a scam in and of itself, or day trading, right? This is what Africans see Bitcoin as, and that is toxic as well. So we're actually in a very toxic phase right now, where 90% of our volume is happening in speculation, right? The pump and dumps. I don't know, anyone here get burned on BTT? Yeah. It's just going to keep happening because it's easy money for a lot of people. And, you know, the whole ICO thing was basically a huge pump and dump, right? A whole bunch of people came in, and the whole thing was to take money away from the early investors and bring it all to these scammers, you know? Anyone here? I got about 1,000 invites a day from blockchain experts on LinkedIn at the height of this ICO scandal, right? So considering that, we're not doing too bad. Next slide, please. it should have been a lot worse, considering everything that we've been through. And for this case, I'm absolutely bullish on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency in general, but especially Bitcoin, right? Because the truth is, people, you know, they're just hearing about Bitcoin now. I talk to people in Africa all the time, and they're just hearing about Bitcoin. And if you come to them and you say, hey, there's these 67,000 other tokens you should be aware of, that's going to kill the momentum. We don't need that, right? Next slide. This entire revolution, right, it's really built on 3 miracles, and we have to be cognizant of what's gotten us here. The first miracle is peer-to-peer electronic cash. It happened about 10 years ago. Some pseudonymous developer named Satoshi Nakamoto came up with Bitcoin, and it works. It really works. The world's top 500 supercomputers combined cannot match the power of the Bitcoin network. So this is an amazing thing. Humanity has never had a peer-to-peer electronic clearing layer, peer-to-peer electronic cash. So this is amazing. It is miraculous, and that's why we're all here. This first miracle brought us here. Second slide. So the great thing is, this second miracle, we're all a part of this, right? Think about it. Would Uber be any useful without drivers? Would Airbnb be useful without hosts? Absolutely not. And for the same reason, this peer-to-peer financial revolution is people-powered. We have the blockchain, which is a digital cryptocurrency, cryptographical layer, right? And then we have this human network, and this is absolutely essential to create this peer-to-peer financial revolution. So everyone that educates people about Bitcoin, that evangelizes Bitcoin, that hodls Bitcoin, and most importantly, uses Bitcoin on a day-to-day level to help other people use their money. We're all part of this human layer, and all part of this miracle. And the third miracle is the sharing economy. Just the sheer concept of the sharing economy is in of itself a miracle. If I told you 10 years ago, hey, you know, let this strange guy crash in your bedroom tonight, your spare bedroom, it's not very appetizing, nor is getting some strange guy's car and going somewhere, right? But because of, you know, Airbnb, Uber, Craigslist, even Udemy for expertise, we're at a point now where that's acceptable. It is acceptable to our mind space to share our things with people. So you can share your car, you can share your time, you can share your home, you can share your expertise. Why can't you share your bank account with someone for a while just to pay a bill for them, right? Why can't you share your bank account to accept some, or any financial network you have, whether it's a gift card account, Amazon account, PayPal, Google Wallet, whatever, Alipay. We can share these things with other people right now. We can share our access to the financial networks that we have with anyone, anywhere in the world. Meaning that someone in Africa without a bank account could actually have access to paying a bill anywhere in the world, in the UK, in Cambodia, to sending a WeChat or Alipay payment, to paying off a bill to a Detroit auction house to buy a car, some guy. And this is what happens all the time in Africa. Next slide, please. So we're at this peer-to-peer financial revolution, right? And what is it? To so many people, like, what is Bitcoin? They're reaching out and typing Bitcoin to a search engine and looking through all that because they've heard it can help them. They don't know exactly how it can help them, though. They're just thinking, maybe this can help me get around our limits. So here in South Africa, you have an awesome banking system. It's super well developed, expensive, slow, a bit of a pain in the ass, but it works great, right? But in so many places, in fact, in every other place in Africa, that is not the case, right? The banking system is broken in many ways. And we'll get to talk about some of those examples later, but just so you know, we understand what peer-to-peer finance is, and this is something that I've understood from our users. It's a global financial passport for the people. It's basically like Uber for money. And if you think about peer-to-peer finance, it's actually existed for over 1,000 years. You know, the Islamic Hawala system or the Indian Hundi system. These are all examples of peer-to-peer networks that have been working for hundreds of years, right? People, you know, they didn't have a trust-based cryptocurrency layer to move money around the world, so they would reach out to their uncles or family around the world, and they would just settle up with themselves after. Now we have the Bitcoin blockchain to do the settlement for us, so it actually gives us, you know, friends and family all over the world. So it really is, I wasn't finished yet, but it's all right. So here we go, guys, it's okay. Well, okay, so just so you understand the basic building blocks of a service like Paxful, it's very simple. It's a listing service, just like eBay or Craigslist, right? Hey, you give me a $1,000 or $100 Amazon gift card, and I will give you back $80 worth of Bitcoin, right? So to give you guys a picture of what's happening with Paxful, we do about 40 to 60,000 trades every single day. And the average amount of those trades is about $2.50. So we do more trades than all the other peer-to-peer platforms, including local Bitcoins combined, right? Because we focus on the unbanked, and that was our original mission. Me and my co-founder, we got together, was we believe in the original mission of Bitcoin, is to help the unbanked, underbanked, and even the overbanked. You know, whoever's in a position of powerlessness, whoever's fed up, whoever's frustrated, here we are to the rescue. So it's a listing service, it's an escrow for cryptocurrency, and a Bitcoin wallet, and those three things together can create a peer-to-peer financial marketplace. Next slide, please. So the 7 true use cases of Bitcoin. So we talked about the first 2, gray markets and speculation, right? But there's 5 other true use cases of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and this is what we learned from our users. So we're in a very special point in time right now in cryptocurrency, right? We just entered the age of compliance, right? So we're not in Kansas anymore. Things are changing. We have to be compliant. The game is completely different right now, and the era of dial-up ghetto crypto is over, right? If you look at most websites and use them, it's not really over, but for our sake, it should be over, right? So payments, e-commerce, remittance, wealth preservation, and social good. So every single market in the world and every single industry scores differently on these 7 use cases, right? For example, in America, it's mostly gray markets and speculation, right? The financial system works pretty well, so the other 5 are not really there. But in markets, emerging markets like Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, 1 and 2, hardly at all. 3, 4, 5, 6 are huge, right? And those are the markets that we focus in, because those are the markets that truly need peer-to-peer finance, because those people are trapped. I'll give you guys some examples. Let's go to the next slide, right? So payments. So here in Africa, right, if you have a bank account, I believe 70% of the population does not have a bank account, but even if you do have a bank account, even if you do have money in the bank account, there are significant limits. In Nigeria, there used to be a $100 limit on your debit, Visa or MasterCard account every month that you can spend online. Since then, it's gone up to $1,000, but that's still not enough to buy an iPhone X from Amazon.com, right? I think the price has dropped by now. Maybe you can, right? And in countries like Malawi, it's $250 a month. Imagine if all the plastic in your wallet was limited to $250 a month maximum, right? Can you even afford an Xbox? I don't know. Maybe a few games, right? So what Africans have figured out, and I have to give special thanks to the people of Nigeria that are very, very clever, right? And they figured out a lot of things. So one of the biggest industries in Nigeria was, or still is, buying cars in America or Europe, used cars, shipping them over to Lagos at 500% profit, right? So this was a huge business, but then it just stopped because the central government, central bank of Nigeria, forbid all the other banks from letting people wire Naira out as USD. Why? Because the government ordered them to, because they wanted to hold on to the foreign currency themselves, because inflation was running amok. It was around 25% in Nigeria. Why? Because we're also in the age of the currency wars. And that brings us to remittance and wealth preservation as use cases, which we'll get to later. But more examples of this, right? So making payments. It can be as simple as there was a guy in Africa, he wanted to buy an iPhone X and he had limits on his debit card. He didn't know what to do. So I told him, okay, you want to buy an iPhone X? Load up $1,100 to your Paxful account. He did that and I said, okay, here's this offer. There's this guy in China and he will send money, he will pay for your Bitcoin by sending money to your Alipay account. I asked him, do you have an Alipay account? He said no, but he opened one up. He did the deal with the Chinese guy, so he gave him, he said, I have $1,100 worth of Bitcoin. The Chinese guy was good to take a margin, I think at that point of 5%, so he actually paid less than $1,100, and he got the money to his Alipay account, and then from there he bought the iPhone X from AliExpress. He completely got around the limitation, the obstacle, and the blockage, just like the guy who was importing cars. He restored his business again. And what we noticed is the government in Nigeria, after they saw this happening, after they saw all these Nigerians, they could get around this blockage, they again let them wire the Naira out again. Because, you know, this is what happens. Peer-to-peer finance can actually have a real effect on governments. Once they see entrepreneurs can actually get around these blockages, everything changes. E-commerce. So most people in America and Europe don't understand that if you are outside of America, if you don't have a European or American bank account, you can't get a Visa or MasterCard merchant account. If you can't get a Visa or MasterCard merchant account, how do you accept money from people? How do you do it? You have to actually go over to New York, file a American corporation, open up a bank account, then apply for a Visa and MasterCard merchant account, then go back home and hopefully everything works, right? This is the reality for entrepreneurs all over the world. So here comes peer-to-peer finance to the rescue. I'll give you guys an example of how this works. I met a lady in Western Africa. Her name was Bahira. She had an awesome store on Instagram, right? She made clothes. And I asked her, okay, this is a really great product you have here. Where's your shopping cart? She didn't have one. Every time someone wanted to buy something from her, and she sold mostly to women outside of America, outside of Africa, in Europe and America, she basically gave them her friends, and her friend in New York, his bank account. They would send the money to him as USD or euros, and then he would settle up with her, and he had a bank account in Africa as well, so he would just send her African money locally there. So she had this magical friend in New York that let her accept payments. But not everyone has that magical friend. Well, the great thing about peer-to-peer finance and Bitcoin is that we will find you this magical friend in every country in the world, and they'll be happy to take a payment for you, and we just use Bitcoin to settle things up. And that's really the killer app of Bitcoin. It was a means of transferring value, transferring and converting value all over the world. And this is a key point. On Paxful, someone can go in and put in an Amazon gift card they bought with cash. They can put in that code. And through 2 peer-to-peer transactions, that Amazon gift card code can become an Xbox gift card code, or a PayPal deposit in the UK, or cash in a Cambodian bank account, or dollars next door. Any form of money can become any other form of money through 2 peer-to-peer transactions. This is something that we're all missing. And this is the killer app of cryptocurrency, especially in emerging markets where their systems are completely broken. How many people here have tried to make an intercontinental settlement or payment within Africa, from one African country to the other? How many people have tried to do that? How many people have tried and just completely given up? That's not worth your time, right? It's a nightmare. So if we can just use this system, if we can create these exchanges in every single country and allow people to send money just within Africa alone, it'll be an absolute boon to this economy. Next slide, please. So remittance. Remittance is an amazing use case, and it works the exact opposite of how we thought it was going to work. When I first got into Bitcoin, everyone was talking about remittance being the killer app and how, you know, the fees of Western Union are too high, and indeed they are very high. And I thought it was going to go towards remittance, but we're not seeing that, right? And why is that? Because it makes logical sense that it should be remittance, right? So on Kenyan TV, I did a demonstration where I sent money from my Paxful account to the interviewer to her cell phone as M-Pesa within 15 seconds. She got the money right away. I paid a fee of 1% for Paxful's escrow fee. But the great thing was, because of the exchange rate, right, because I was selling my Bitcoin to a guy in Mombasa in Kenya, he gave me an additional 5% for my Bitcoin. So it turns out that that lady got 4+% over the 100 USD that I sent her. She got 4% extra. So when it comes to peer-to-peer finance, remittance is not about saving money, it's about making money. And what we'll see is people actually turn this into import and export businesses all over the world. It's that once they figure out that this can happen, and I mean, it's absolutely the most amazing thing in the world. When you show this process to, like, especially a young person, someone in high school or college, and they see it works, they just look at you, their eyes light up, and like, can I do this again? Like, yes, you can do it again. And what happens is they actually figure out more trade routes, and they actually build a business off of this. Next thing you know, they're employing half their class. Next. That actually happened in Ghana, by the way. I went there, I met a guy, and he thanked me because he used to be unemployed. Now he's got 5 employees, and he's flipping gift cards on Paxful. So the ingenuity of young people is amazing, and I'm very impressed with the ingenuity of the African people as well. So wealth preservation. Now, this is an absolutely massive use case, and as the currency wars ramp up, it's only going to get bigger and bigger. And we know how devastating the currency wars are right now, because you see what's happening in Venezuela. 1 million, in fact, in some cases, 1.7 million inflation in 2018. It's expected to be over 1,000,000% inflation this year, assuming the government actually holds up, right? So absolutely devastating, and the currency wars are not going to go away anytime soon. You're going to see them exported to every single country around the world, considering what's happening right now, geopolitically speaking. So when this happens, when a country's currency takes a huge hit, the people will seek out Bitcoin. They don't know what they want it for, but they know that their currency is not going to hold up. So think about it like this. Think about that single mother in Venezuela. She just got paid. She's got 2 kids, right? She's trying to buy eggs, milk, diapers. She's trying to buy as much as she can of things that won't perish, right? So that will hold on to the next week. But she's still got money left over. She knows by the time she gets paid the next time, it'll be worth half as much. So she says, hey, Bitcoin is volatile, fine. I'll just put my money in Bitcoin, right? Good. So it stores her value, but that's not enough. She needs to be able to get the money back out again as her local currency because her local merchants do not accept Bitcoin yet. So what does she do? She goes to websites like Paxful and she basically buys some Bitcoin and then she sells it at certain times at a profit when she needs local money again, right? And this is a huge, huge use case. All these countries on this list have suffered from inflation. Some of them might go even harder. Nigeria might become the next Venezuela, I hope not. Well, Argentina is now suffering from inflation, so is Turkey. So this use case is only gonna grow. And you know, it's not only inflation that brings people to wealth preservation. Legitimate investing is also part of wealth preservation, including legitimate ICOs. I think there are at least one or two, right? I didn't invest in any. I'm very proud of that. All my friends made fun of me. They got rich though, but it's all right. Next slide. So social good, this is to us the magical 7th true use case of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So I'm very proud to say we just completed our 2nd school in Rwanda, and our mission is to build 100 schools throughout Africa and the emerging world, with the 100th school being a school for gifted children. Think Professor Xavier style, right? So we're actually doing this, and I'm very proud to say that we're not waiting until we're like a multi-billion-dollar company to do this. We've started this right now. Some big players are coming in, and the best thing about it, besides the fact that there's 1,000 children there that now have education, cute little uniforms, lunches. They have 5 water tanks, water filtration, water storage, solar power. Their teachers are being paid. They have we're even opening up a clinic in the sports field as well. So it's kind of like a little complex. Think about it like SimCity, cryptocurrency style, right? It's really fun. The great thing about it is that we went into Rwanda and we're like, okay, we need to move $250,000 into Rwanda. So basically we just took $250,000 of Bitcoin, and in Africa, one of the biggest challenges is people do not have enough Bitcoin, right? And I will get back to the remittance use case later, actually, or right now, actually, because it's very important to understand that the problems in Africa really extend about, it's very hard to get money out of the country, right? Thus, it's very hard for them to buy Bitcoin from whoever has the Bitcoin, which is currently not Africans, right? Most of it's in the hands of early adopters, whales, manipulators, etc., right? So how do we get Bitcoin into those economies? So we could do it because we had the Bitcoin, and then it was easy for us to turn that Bitcoin into Rwandan francs, and boom, we funded the schools. The only negative, it's not tax deductible, right? It's not going through the banking system, so the IRS can't really see that. But it was instant, and we even got a 10% bonus for the money we went in, because in Africa, there's a lot of hunger for Bitcoin. Exchanges regularly run out of currency to sell. So an interesting point about remittance is that what we can do to solve this big problem of not enough cryptocurrency in Africa is to mobilize the diasporas, right? The Africans living outside of Africa that have access to cheap Bitcoin because they have Western bank accounts. Mobilize them to send their money back home as Bitcoin. It's great for them because they can do so at 0%, right? They can do so instantly, and they're feeding Africa with cheap market rate Bitcoin. It's a win-win for everyone, right? So as far as Built with Bitcoin goes, we're sending this program out to 100 schools. We're hoping to build at least 5 schools this year, maybe more, depending on which partners come in. We don't know what the next location is going to be, perhaps here, perhaps Kenya, perhaps Ghana, perhaps even Colombia. There's a town in Colombia that gets 50,000 Venezuelan refugees a day. Next slide, please. So why Africa? Why do we focus so much on Africa? I myself am African. I was born in Africa to African parents, and I do like Africa, but I don't put any other people above any other people. It really is a business decision, right? Africa has tremendous potential. And it's not just the natural resources that are under the ground. It's the natural resources in the colleges and the universities, all these amazing, brilliant young people that are looking for a way to add value and create wealth. We can give them that now. The beautiful thing is, they're young, they're ready to work, they have the potential and the desire to do work, and work is money, right? And Africa has one of the most connected 3G populations in the world with amazing pervasiveness, right? So this is an absolutely amazing market, and more so than anything, any of these numbers, it's this will, this hunger that you see manifest in the cheetah generation, right? These guys are looking to win. They have been fighting this war against the hippos for, what, 200 years? They haven't been doing very well, you know, unfortunately. But now they actually have a way to escape the financial prisons that they're in. So just so we all understand how bad the situation is, and most of the people here are, you know, African. I understand you probably know it better than I do. But, you know, in the West, we only hear about Africa in 3 ways: poverty, corruption, and disease. That's it, right? They never talk about the other aspects, right? So I was in a taxi in New York, and one of the drivers, he was from Senegal. He started telling me about his country and the situation over there, that they use a version of the franc that's not even printed in Senegal. It's printed in Paris, sent over to them at a fee, and even worse, the French actually limit the amounts of francs that they can buy. So they actually control the volume of money in their economy. It's absolutely devastating. But that's not it. That's not the end of it. To make things even worse, each of these 5 countries, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, and Gambia, I think. Each of these countries uses a different version of the franc. So they can't even trade amongst each other. They balkanize them within their own. It's absolutely devastating. If you think about it like that, it's a miracle that Africans are not extinct, considering what they've had to go through. This is what you call economic slavery, and it's happening today. It has not gone anywhere. So imagine we go to those 5 countries, we give them a way to settle up and move funds around with each other, making it a continuous block again, almost like they have their own currency, right? And they can keep their fiat currency, and Bitcoin and peer-to-peer finance will just help them move fluidly throughout. It destroys the walled gardens, right? It doesn't matter if it's in the country next door, if it's Alipay, if it's PayPal, if it's in a retail economy through a gift card like Amazon or Walmart. And that's what we're seeing. There's guys in Ghana right now trading Walmart gift cards and doing drop shipping to Americans from Walmart, from his apartment in his bedroom in Ghana. This is amazing. This is what peer-to-peer finance can do. It absolutely removes all the limits. They're no longer trapped in the little financial prison that they're in. And this is absolutely the most amazing thing imaginable, right? Now, there are risks to peer-to-peer finance. We can talk about that later or after this, maybe. Next slide. So I just want to tell everyone here, don't worry. 2018 was a hard year for cryptocurrency. It was actually, I think, the best thing to happen to cryptocurrency because it shook out a lot of the charlatans and people that were quite honestly weak, not just weak-handed, but weak-minded and weak-willed, right? So if you think this chart is actually Amazon's chart, can you that little red dot there is what happened in the crash, right? You can barely noticeable. So I'm very bullish on cryptocurrency, on Bitcoin specifically, because it solves real problems. Me personally, as the founder of the company, I got into this because I believed in the original mission of Bitcoin. Me and my co-founder wanted to do this. We wanted to focus on cryptocurrency because it was awesome. We were both libertarians. We believed in honest money. We believed in the work of human beings. And we believed in a vision of the world that was about abundance, not scarcity, right? So we got into this because we believe in the little guy. We believe in helping the little guy out. And at the end of the day, everything that we do here is about wealth generation, right? It's about creating wealth from the natural resources of the people, which is work. There's tremendous wealth out there. All we have to do is give them a means to use it. Next slide. So thank you, everyone. It's been absolutely awesome. I've really enjoyed my stay here in Africa, and I just want to make everyone really feel me here. Feel me here. It's a New York term, right? It's about peer-to-peer finance. In so many places I go in the world, I talk about Bitcoin, I talk about cryptocurrency. There's all this negative baggage that we have to fight, right? From the media, from the scammers, and that's understandable. But really what we're doing here is we're creating a peer-to-peer financial revolution, and Bitcoin, if it does its job right, will be invisible in that. We should make it as smooth and as seamless as possible. We should focus on the user and the user journey instead of navel-gazing vaporware apps and dApps that no one's going to use or needs, right? So the use cases are here. All you have to do is travel to these places, go to these countries, see what their limitations, see what their pain points are, and peer-to-peer finance guaranteed can help them, especially if you leverage the human layer in each of those places. So this is not sexy work, it's not glamorous, there's no Lamborghinis involved, but it absolutely is, I think, the most fruitful and absolutely prosperous and beneficial work that we can do right now, especially when it comes to education. Thank you guys so much. We're hiring.
Ray, thank you so much. We have a few minutes for some questions. So if anybody has a question, please raise your hand. I think that's some really interesting work that Paxful is doing.
How's it, Ray?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for the talk.
Oh, no problem.
So I'm wondering, how much business are you doing in South Africa, and what are the constraints in dealing with local banks that you may have run into? Is it an issue or isn't it? Because I think this clearly could bring a whole bunch of benefits.
Absolutely.
To poor South Africans.
Absolutely. So here in South Africa, we do not have a great deal of volume right now, but there's a tremendous amount of buyers. If you put up an offer for like selling Bitcoin with MTN mobile money or with bank transfer on Paxful for South Africa, you will literally get 20 bites in under an hour, right? So if anyone here has, I'm trying to get a South African bank account so I can put my offers up there and start banking and making money on it, but I don't have one yet. But if you do, you can put your offer up there and you'll immediately get buyers and you'll be helping out the ecosystem. So what was your second part of your question again?
So the question is just how easy has it been to do business in South Africa for you guys?
Oh.
What are the benefits of your product, your service to South Africa?
Okay, so here's the thing about Paxful. We don't have any bank accounts. Just like Uber doesn't own any cars, we don't have any bank accounts. Just like Airbnb doesn't have any, apartments or bedrooms, right? Everyone else uses their bank account or any financial network that they have, right? So you have a bank account here, maybe you have a bank account in Germany. So I use Paxful all the time to pay my bills, right? I use it for bill payments. I've been living in Europe for the past 3 years. I don't have a European bank account, right? So my Bank of America in New York City will not let me wire money from my bank to Europe unless I'm physically in the branch in New York. This is 2019. Bank of America, one of the biggest banks in the United States, will not let me actually send money online. Can you imagine this? This is the truth, right? So if I want to pay a bill to my lawyer in Hamburg, what do? I can't go to my bank. What do? I put up an offer on Paxful. Let's say I have to sell 1,000 euros of Bitcoin. Any takers? A guy in Germany is like, yeah, market rate, or even like 1% under. If I want to move it really fast, I'll get like 100 takers. And I call it in like 5 minutes. He's like, sure. Where do I send the money? I just give him my lawyer's bank account in Germany. And he sends the money from his German bank account to his. It happens the same day or instantly if they're on the same bank. Deal done. I just borrowed a bank account and paid a bill. This is what peer-to-peer finance is all about. No limits. I wish I had a better answer for you, man. Oh, really? I
think there are a couple of questions, please.
I love the shirt.
All right. Ray, I'm from Ghana.
You're from Ghana, awesome, yeah.
Last December, I read an article that you gave in Ghana about users of Bitcoin. Your article made mention of Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana, but the statistics you put in there were the number of users on your platform for Nigeria, the volume of transactions over there. But what the article failed to give was statistics of Ghana. So I would want to know how many users of Ghana are on your platform, the volume of transactions for Ghanaians, statistics about Ghanaian users on your platform.
Oh, that's a great question. So what I can tell you is that Ghana is our third biggest market in the world. It's America, Nigeria, and then little itty-bitty Ghana is our third biggest market. As far as the exact number of transactions, the exact amount of volume, I cannot say. I'm not really the bean counter CEO. More of like, the New Yorker talking time CEO, product guy talking to people. So I wish I had a better answer for you. I can get you those statistics. Brian over there can get you some statistics there. But even more important than the volume is really the payment methods that people use, right? Because that tells you a lot about the prevalent financial networks in the country and what their limitations are. So the volume really doesn't matter, in my opinion, because we're just getting started. Most people in cryptocurrency have no idea about what's possible in peer-to-peer finance. They don't really see that peer-to-peer finance is the killer app of Bitcoin. So I wish I had a better answer for you. I promise you I will redeem myself, though, before the end of this day.
There's another question in the front.
I'm Toby from Spain. Very, very exciting presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
I've got an easy question and a hard question for you.
Oh,
so the easy question is suckers, collaborative community savings, stokvel accounts. These community savings accounts. Do you have clients like that? Have you been able to hit that market? So these guys don't have bank accounts. They pool their money together. And it happens across Africa. It's very big in South Africa. It's called stokvels here, but
stokvels.
Yeah, stokvel.
Stokvel.
But you might know it as a SACCO or as a cooperative or community savings account.
I keep hearing the word sucker. I mean,
S-A-C-C-O.
S-A-C-C-O. Okay, yeah, I'm from New York. Sorry. SACCO. Okay.
So that's the easy question. Are you working with these kind of cooperative community savings accounts where the community pools their money together and then can engage with Paxful across Africa?
To my knowledge, no. I don't know that we're working with them, but they might be working with us. They might be on Paxful right now, flipping and hustling and moving money around. It might very well be happening. That's a great use case. I would love to pick your brain on that some more. So I couldn't answer your question. I just have a lot of questions for you.
You might not like me after this hard question. How do you deal with money laundering?
Well, so that's a great question. So we're now in the age of compliance. So we hired a full-time compliance officer. She's awesome. We have a fully revamped new AML policy written by our new in-house general counsel.
47 pages.
Yeah, well, no. It's only like 12, man. Chill out, man. We're trying to still make things readable. So everything about Paxful has changed, right? We got our start by helping the underbanked and unbanked, right? And now we're going to be applying for every MTL license in the United States, all 50, just like Coinbase. Why? Because we absolutely have to. The arm of the U.S. lawman is long, right? We're not going to fight the U.S. Navy, right? We have to accept this. We have to be mature about it, right? So money laundering, what I've noticed in peer-to-peer finance is money laundering is not really a big deal. The big problem is fraud. Fraud, fraud, fraud. Why? Think about what we've done. We've given the entire world banking without identity. What is that? That's the Wild West. You think about it like this. There could be some guy in India somewhere that makes maybe $200 a year. It's absolutely worth it. He's smart too. He has computer skills. It's absolutely worth it for his time to actually spend like an entire week of his time trying to scam you out of $20, right? And there's a lot of people out there like that. And we've opened the floodgates for all of them to come in. So the Paxful fraud prevention team is absolutely awesome. 50% of our company is dedicated to that and customer support. And it's only going to grow. Why? Because that is absolutely the biggest benefit of peer-to-peer finance and one of our biggest values. Besides actually like finding you the people to connect you with and giving you the escrow, it's that fraud prevention and this is the dark side of peer-to-peer finance, right? And there is a dark side, right? It's the most amazing thing that ever happened in the past 100 years. However, there's absolutely a huge risk for the person holding the Bitcoin because Bitcoin is irreversible. And you're trading it for some form of fiat money. And any form of fiat with enough political will is reversible, right? So if you can master that risk assessment for whatever payment method it is, you can do very well. PayPal, for example, the average margin for PayPal is 30%. Why? Because it's so easy to charge back a PayPal transaction. So the person selling the Bitcoin has to be very careful. I'll give you guys some more on-the-ground tips here. Guys that sell Bitcoin for PayPal do very well. One young guy in Romania is 25 years old. He makes like $70,000 in profit every month doing that, right? And what he does is, if he doesn't know the person, he'll ask for their ID. Right, just to make sure it's not a hacker that stole this guy's PayPal account. But sometimes the hacker also stole their ID. He needs to ask for a selfie with ID. And sometimes he needs to go even further, ask for their Facebook. You know, vendors on Paxful are absolutely with some of the best fraud detectors around. One of them actually got hired by BNP Paribas in the Netherlands.
So you've got a P2P KYC service inside of Paxful?
Yes, we just launched our KYC service, and it's not really to stop money laundering. It's really to give people, and this is actually a great question. So how we can do KYC in a way that does not close doors, right? This is the thing, because we're trying to build a safe and open financial system. If it's open and not safe, no one's going to mess with it. They'll just stick with their broken system. It has to be safe. So if you KYC, what we see is it drops the fraud percentage by anywhere from 80 to 90%. Right? So if you KYC, what's it going to do? We're not saying, hey, this door will close for you if you don't. We're saying, hey, this door will remain open, and this new door will give you better prices, faster transactions will open up. Do you want to jump through it? 95% of the time, people will happily go through it, especially in Africa. Africans they're ready. They KYC, and I can get my global financial passport. Sure, they'll give you whatever they have. So if done right, KYC is a boon to this industry. It's not a negative thing at all.
Ray, there are lots of other questions. Unfortunately, we have to move on because of time. So I'd like to encourage everybody to come. You're going to be here in the break as well, are you?
Oh, I will be. I'm not leaving, sir.
Okay, fantastic. So let's give a big round of applause to Ray. Thank you so much, Ray.